North Stradbroke Island, North Stradbroke Island, Jandai, Minjerribah, colloquially Straddie or North Straddie, is an island that lies within Moreton Bay in the Australian state of Queensland, 30 kilometres 19 miles southeast of the centre of Brisbane. Originally there was only one Stradbroke Island, but in 1896 it split into North Stradbroke Island. The Quandamooka people are the traditional owners of North Stradbroke Island. The island is divided into four localities. Dunwich, Amity and Point Lookout are small localities centred on the towns of the same name, while the remainder of the island is in the locality of North Stradbroke Island. All the localities are within the City of Redland. At 275.2 square kilometres, 106.3 sq mi, 68,000 acres, it is the second largest sand island in the world. On the island there are three small towns, a number of lakes and beaches along most of the seaward coastline with rocky outcrops at Point Lookout. An Aboriginal presence on the island has been long and ongoing, resulting in a successful native title determination. Tourism is a major and growing industry on the island. The island has been the site for sand mining for more than 60 years. Tourism and currently mining are the island's main industries. Geography and ecology. Beaches. 5 main beaches provide fishing, surfing and water opportunities on North Stradbroke Island. These are Main Beach, which is 32 kilometres 20 miles long and good for surfing; Cylinder Beach, which is a protected swimming beach with a smaller swell; Home Beach, which is popular with swimmers; Frenchman's Beach/Deadman's Beach with rock pools, but no life-saving service; and Flinders Beach, which offers good swimming and beach camping. Main Beach is also the location of the entry to the Keyhole Track, which is one of the top 4 WD tracks near Brisbane. The entrance is near Point Lookout to the south. Lakes, springs and wetlands. North Stradbroke Island has over 100 freshwater lakes and wetlands and contains significant groundwater resources which are accessed by local communities and a sand mining company, Cyberco Australia. In addition, a significant volume of groundwater is exported to the mainland. There is a higher number of wetlands that have been in existence since the last ice age than anywhere else on the Australian mainland. While there is the potential for expanded groundwater use, because so little is known about groundwater-dependent water bodies and ecosystems, any expanded groundwater use is suspended. Dependent ecosystems include freshwater and estuarine wetlands, mangrove and paperbark communities, and surface water fauna. Many of the wetlands are places for threatened migratory wading birds, including 34 species listed by JAMBA and Canberra Moreton Bay Ramsar Area Marine Migratory Act. Blue Lake. Blue Lake, one of the largest lakes on the island, is protected within the Minjerribah National Park and is of cultural significance to the Quandamooka people of Stradbroke Island. It is a spring-fed lake relying on the stable aquifer feeding it. This stable hydrology means it has been untouched by climate change and appears to be in the same condition as it was 7,500 years ago. Blue Lake has been an important climate refuge for the freshwater biota of the region, and with appropriate management, the lake could continue relatively unchanged for hundreds, possibly thousands of years to come. Brown Lake. Brown Lake is a perched lake which retains its water due to a layer of leaves lining the lake floor and is of cultural significance to the Quandamooka people of Stradbroke Island. The precipitated matter eventually forms an impermeable layer, preventing water from percolating to the water table. 18-Mile Swamp. The 18-Mile Swamp is the largest of its kind in the world and, in particular, is a fine and extensive representation of a coastal freshwater swamp. It is unusual for its size and dimensions, very long and narrow, covering 30 square kilometers 12 sq mi, and is considered to be very young, 500–6,000 years compared with similar swamps. On 27 March 2011, the area was declared a national park, named Minjerribah National Park, My Mother Earth, by the Quandamooka people, the traditional owners of Minjerribah, North Stradbroke Island, who are engaged in its joint management with the Queensland state government. The wetland is in close proximity to the extensive Enterprise mine. The 18-mile swamp is home to many endangered, rare species, including the vulnerable Cryptocarya foetida, whose habitat is the Nautiphil vine forest found at the foot and lower slope of parabolic high dunes on the west of the wetland. These high dunes on the west of 18-mile swamp provide excellent examples of long parabolic dunes migrating across North Stradbroke Island from the southeast to the northwest. This migration has buried earlier positions of the west coast escarpment to form complex hydrological systems, with the ancient dunes estimated at up to 300,000 years old. No comparative examples of the phenomenon are seen on Moreton and Fraser Islands. Myara Springs and Myara Creek swamp, 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 swamp. Myara Springs is a unique wetland site on the northwest side of North Stradbroke Island, of particular cultural significance to the Quandamooka people as a sacred gathering site, and is also a declared fish habitat area. Myara Springs is known to be essential habitat for the vulnerable water mouse Xeromys myoids and the endangered swamp orchid Phaeus australis. Lake Coombe. Another perched lake, Lake Coombe, was partially drained after sand mining operations breached the impervious layer in 1987. CRL spent over $300,000 in the 10 years following this in attempts to fix the damage, and now acknowledge they cannot repair the damage to the lake, turning a clear freshwater lake into a reedy waterhole. Other lakes and wetlands. Other perched lakes include Black Snake Lagoon, Ibis Lagoon, whose Melaleuca community is unique in structure and floristics from other Melaleuca areas on the island, Welsby Lagoon, Native Companion Lagoon, and the ephemeral Tortoise Lagoon within the Narrabee National Park. Amity Swamp suffered, in 1991, when up to 100,000 liters of diesel spilled from the sand mining company, Consolidated Rutile Limited (CRL). This was not reported until 1994, the same year CRL was awarded a commendation in the inaugural State Government Award for Environmental Excellence. It was not until 1997 that the incident was acknowledged in CRL annual report, stating that the spill was expected to be cleared by 1999, 8 years after it occurred. The sand mining company was never fined by the Department of Mines and Energy for these environmental incidents and continues operating. Flinders Swamp and its drainage lines is home to the rare acid frog Latotia colulensis, and the area includes habitats for relict populations of the burrowing skink Anomalopus truncatus. The keyholes are a series of clear, freshwater lakes at the northern end of the 18-mile swamp, popular with visiting canoeists. As the Yarraman mine is now operating close to these lakes, public access has been closed, as it is a prohibited mining area. Fauna. North Stradbroke Island is home to rare, vulnerable, endangered, and near-threatened animals. Examples include migratory wading birds, including 34 species listed by Jandai and Kamba Moreton Bay Ramsar area. Wallam froglet Crinia tinula. These occur at Dunwich, Amity, Yarraman Lakes, Blue Lake, 18-mile swamp, Brown Lake, Amity Swamp, Tortoise Lagoon, and Flinders Beach wetlands. Kulula sedge frog Latoria cululensis. These occur at 18-mile swamp, north of the causeway, Brown Lake, Dunwich Point Lookout, Tortoise Lagoon, Blue Lake, Welsby Lagoon, and Yarraman Lakes. The population of L. cululensis on North Stradbroke Island has also been called Latoria sp. Cf. Cululensis North Stradbroke is and may represent an unnamed species endemic to the island, as it is genetically distinct and has a different mating call from the other population of L. cululensis on the Sunshine Coast. Oxley and pygmy perch Nendobroca oxleyana. There are two genetically distinct populations, east and west, but in very low abundance. The eastern population is at 18 Mile Swamp and Blue Lake, though only one specimen was collected there by McGregor et al. In 2008. The western population is at Little Cannelpin Creek. Flora. There are 780 plant species recorded for the island, 599 native, and 181 introduced species. Of these, 14 species are classified as threatened or near threatened species under the Queensland Nature Conservation Act 1992. Two of them are endemic to the island. Examples include Knotaphyll vine forest on parabolic high dunes. These occur on the foot and lower slope of high dunes on the west of 18 Mile Swamp, Swan Bay area, and are the habitat for rare and threatened flora including Cryptocarya foetida. Acacia bari bars wattle vulnerable. These occur in seasonally waterlogged sands in Wallam areas such as Cannelpin Swamp and 18 Mile Swamp. Durringtonia pallidosa Durringtonia near threatened. These occur in Myora Swamp and 18 Mile Swamp. Phaeus australis swamp orchid endangered. These occur at Flinders Beach wetlands, Myora and 18 Mile Swamps. Philipteris confluens soft swamp fern vulnerable. These occur found in permanently swamp areas associated with species of Balmia and Cladium at Flinders Beach wetlands and 18 Mile Swamp. Arthraxin hispidus hairy joint grass vulnerable may no longer be present on the island. Blandifordia grandiflora Christmas bells endangered. Iliocarpus deformis underwater spikerush endangered endemic. Udenia arenicola presumed extinct. Olaria hygrophila swamp daisy endangered endemic. Persicaria elatior smartweed vulnerable. Phaeus bernaceae swamp orchid endangered likely to be a yellow color form of P. australis. It is likely that no mainland populations remain of this color form. Charastyles nigricans brownhood orchid near threatened. Sconus scabripes bogrush near threatened. Thesium australe toadflax vulnerable. History. Indigenous inhabitants. The Quandamooka people, an Aboriginal Australian people, are made up of the Nunukal, Gompal and Ngugi tribes. Quandamooka is the Aboriginal name for Moreton Bay. However, North Stradbroke Island is also inhabited by the Quandamooka people. This group was traditionally nomadic, moving between a number of semi-permanent settlements and living off the land. In July 2011, the Quandamooka people of North Stradbroke Island won a 16-year-long battle. The federal court determinations outline native title rights and interest over land and waters on and around North Stradbroke Island. According to the Redland City Council, the Quandamooka people's native title consent determinations cover the majority of North Stradbroke Island, Peel Island, Goat Island, Bird Island, Stingaree Island, Crab Island, and the water surrounding Moreton Bay. Sand mining. History. In 1949, Australian Consolidated Industries ACI commenced sand mining operations on North Stradbroke Island. Consolidated Rutile Limited CRL, an Australian public company listed on the Australian Stock Exchange, took over these sand mining operations in 1966 and operated two of Stradbroke's three sand mines. CRL Sand mined mineral sands. From 2001, the third mine, a silica sand mine, has been operated by Unimin Australia Limited, part of mining multinational SCR Cibco, a company privately owned by the Belgian Imsens family. In 1998, Iluka Resources Limited, a publicly listed Australian company, acquired majority interest in CRL. Unimin Australia Limited acquired Iluka Resources' majority interest in CRL Holdings in 2009, and in December 2010, the company changed its name to Cibco Australia after its Belgian parent company. Iluka Resources remains the overseas selling agent for mineral sands from Cibco Australia's Enterprise and Minjerribah mines. Mining began in the 1950s on the beachfront, and this caused minimal disruption to the environment. However, As mining moved into the interior of the island in the late 1960s and increased in scale and size in the 1970s, the impact on Stradbroke's ecosystem increased, with Consolidated Rutile Limited (CRL) starting dredge mining on Stradbroke's high dunes. There are several accounts from sand mining employees of unusual artifacts being found during dredging operations. Dredge mining involves leveling the high dunes and stripping vegetation to create the dredge pond, and this dramatically changed the landscape of Stradbroke. The dredge is continually moving, leaving the tailings sand, so, although the mine dunes are revegetated and stabilized, the original ecology of the island cannot be replaced. As an alternative, development of the island for seaside residential use was mooted, and in 1970 a bridge from the mainland via Russell Island was under serious consideration by the Queensland government. The Queensland government also proposed a large-scale redevelopment of the island in the mid-1980s, which would have seen the population of the island increase tenfold. However, after a concerted bid by conservationists and planners concerned at the impact on wetlands, fish breeding grounds, and the impact of population growth, the idea fell from favor in February 1986, when Premier Bill Peterson ruled the idea was not financially viable. In 1991, the Australian government and sand mining companies ACI and CRL attempted to reach an agreement on surrender of some or parts of mining lease tenements to form a national park. Half of North Stradbroke Island was to become a national park in return for a guarantee that mining could continue for the life of several mines in high-grade areas. 1. Areas 1. The agreement was not signed by either of the mining companies nor the government and has lapsed. Cyberco Australia operated 3 sand mining sites on the island enterprise, by far the largest, Vance and Yarraman. Mineral sands and silica sands at Vance Mine, near Dunwich, are mined from the surface. Rutile, zircon, and ilmenite were dredged from the Enterprise Mine, southeast of Dunwich, and previously the Yarraman Mine, south of Point Lookout. Enterprise was the largest mine on the island and accounted for 60% of the island's production in 2011. It operated in close proximity to the 18-mile swamp along a migrating dredge path with a buffer zone from the wetlands prescribed by the Queensland government. Conservationists have expressed concern that these buffer zones, the smallest of which is 25 meters (82 ft), are inadequate to protect the Ramsar-listed wetlands from pollution and will fail to protect the waterways, citing evidence from the 1976 inquiry into sand mining on Fraser Island, which found even 500 meter (1600 ft) buffer. In 2009, 500 long tons of 190,000 long tons, 550,000 short tons of minerals were being produced by mining about 50 million tons of sand. Cyberco Australia produced 500,000. The silica extracted was used mainly in glass production, but also in digital tablets such as iPads. The mineral sands were used in paints, plastics, metals, cosmetics, and biotechnological devices, such as prosthesis, both for domestic and international markets. The international market for Australian mineral sands, sold through Iluka Resources, was mainly China, where 80% of exports are used as pigment in paints. A 2010 KPMG assessment, commissioned by Cyberco Australia, found 95% of revenue from NSI sand mining stayed in the Australian community. Environmental concerns push for closure. Closure of the sand mines. The Yarraman mine closed in 2015. The Enterprise site was wound up in 2019, as per the 2011 legislation, while the much smaller Vance mine will continue to operate until 2025. A statement of intent was signed on 20 February 2019 by Cyberco Australia, the Queensland government, and the Quandamooka people, by which the 3 sand mines would be rehabilitated. It would cost tens of millions of dollars and take 5 to 6 years. The Quandamooka Uluburibi Aboriginal Corporation would move from its role in land care and cultural heritage advice into being responsible for the later stages of rehabilitation and developing the island as a community fund. In 2011, Cyberco announced the formation of a new community fund. According to the fund, it is the largest community investment ever made in the history of the Bay Islands. The fund is administered by an advisory board constituted by 2 members from each of the island's townships and an executive chairperson. However, no Quandamooka people, who had their native title claim recognized in July 2011 after a 16-year proceeding, are members of the board of this community fund. As at October 2017, there is no reference to the community fund on the Cyberco website. Arts, culture and tourism. Arts such as fibre art and basketry and weaving techniques are being taught in workshops by a New Zealand-born artist living on the island, and Quandamooka Yulubarabi Aboriginal Corporation Chief Executive Cameron Costello is working to expand the tourism industry based on arts and culture, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous. The Quandamooka Festival was part of this, and the Quandamooka Arts Museum and Performance Institute is due to be completed in mid-2021.